Good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm Braxton Gray here with Coach John Everingham. Coach, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, ready to go, and I think we got a good show today. We got one of our players, Jaden Boyer, coming in, and also a middle school basketball coach, Tim Kimes, going to come in and talk just a little bit about his team and the middle school basketball program. So, we'll talk a little bit about last night's game and then tonight's game against West Noble. So, plenty to talk about today.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into last night's game. Last night's game, the score was 61-50, but to me, that score did not show the game at all. The game was so much closer the whole game. Talk about your thoughts on that game.
Yeah, obviously it's you really got to guard against, I think, from a coaching perspective and players too. You got to guard against, frustration of coming really close. And we had a lead late enough in the game to when you don't pull those out, it's easy to get frustrated. And so it's going to be really important for us. I'm sure we'll talk just a little bit later to come back and have the right mindset going into tonight's game. But, again, we put ourselves in position, to really have a chance to beat a good team in Manchester. And so they won 14, 15 games last year and went to the sectional finals, and they're hoping to take another step, I'm sure. But, they got good guards, and they hit some crucial shots down the stretch. They were 17 of 19, from the free throw line, and then also got some key stops, and so I think putting yourself in position to win a basketball game is one thing, and then actually, executing down the stretch when things get really serious is it's like two separate games. It's like a game within a game. When you get right down to it, we're up 2, we have a lead, we feel comfortable, and then we kind of jack 3 straight threes in a row after scoring a couple baskets on the inside. And so, the good news for us is that we put ourselves in that position. We played hard enough on defense. We certainly made some mistakes kind of throughout the game, but we played well enough to give ourselves a chance against a good basketball team. So those are things that are really, really positive, and we just got to continue to build off of those things and not take a step backwards. So that's going to be the challenge tonight is, not to take a step backwards.
Yeah, last night was arguably the best game of your guys' season, which is good to see as a coach. You guys are improving, but of course there's lots you guys have to improve on. You guys missed 6 free throws. You guys shot 8 of 14 from the free throw line. Talk about how that could have been a change in the game, because that's only 57%, which in high school basketball is not very well from the free throw line.
Well, I think in the last 3 years, we've established ourselves as a basketball program to be very, very competitive. And, the understanding that every possession counts, every free throw counts. We play in a lot of close games, and we haven't had really the ability to blow teams out and to comfortably kind of coast to the finish line. It is really close. It makes for some exciting basketball when you got really good kids and they're playing hard and they're playing their hearts out and the game's close. You certainly would love your team to kind of come out on top, but there are certain things that you have to be able to do to close out the game. I talked about Manchester going 17 of 19 from the free throw line and then finding a way to make the big play in just the right situation. That reverse layup from Hamby, down the stretch, I think they were up 2 or 3, and that put them up 5. But that was a big-time play from a big-time player. So those are the things that you have to do. Obviously, their experience at the guard position kind of outweighed, some of the things the mistakes that we made down the stretch. And I thought they did a good job late of kind of pulling that press back out, and we just made some untimely turnovers. When we put ourselves in that position, we got to execute really, really well. After watching the film, we're close, but it takes 5 people to be in the right spots, and you got to be able to complete a pass and then finish at the other end when teams are pressing you. And so, our philosophy is to attack that, and we just didn't have that attacking, winning mindset when we put ourselves in that position to really close out that game. So, like I said, the good news is we put ourselves in that position. Now we got to figure out why it didn't work out for us and then get better, get better in those situations, because we're going to play in a lot of close games this year, and we're going to have to be very comfortable in those situations and be able to execute, when we put ourselves in that position. So there's a lot of good things, a lot of good news, but we got to get better in certain situations.
Yeah, so you guys had basically a whole week to prepare for this game. Talk about how that helped you, and it kind of settled you guys down because you guys looked like very calm at the start of the game, but they started putting a little pressure, and you guys got a little antsy and started losing control of the ball. But talk about how that week really helped you guys prepare for tonight's game.
Well, we focused, all week at getting some interior points and taking the ball to the basket and getting to the free throw line and just the toughness that it takes to not just settle for 3-point shots. And we still didn't do an awesome perfect job of that last night. I think we took 19 threes, and we're struggling a little bit from the 3-point range. We have to get better shots on the inside to kind of soften that defense, in order to get open threes. And I don't think we had too many, open looks, from three. They were contested, and we struggled again from the 3-point line, last night. So, the week of practice really was about offensive execution and trying to find out what we're going to hang our hat on offensively and what our strengths are offensively. And so, I thought it was a good sign for us that a young kid, like Keaton Dukes can come out and play, a game where he scores 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and no turnovers. That's a big time performance from a sophomore. And I think that's really encouraging that he's only going to get better. Jack Stover, I thought, played, his best game of his career so far, and learning to finish at the basket, be in the right spots, and so we got 2 young guys that are kind of coming along. They're just going to keep getting better and better, and they'll have their hiccups, along the way, some growing pains. But last night was a good sign with those young guys. And as a side note, our JV played well. Our JV is 3-0, and we got some other younger guys. Colin Roberson is a 6'4" freshman, have 14 points in the freshman or the JV game. So again, just keeping it positive. There's a lot of positives from our young, inexperienced guys, and the hope is, the light at the end of the tunnel is that those guys are going to keep getting better and better, and we have to teach, and they have to learn. And, our seniors got to really step up and show the leadership that we need them to show in order for those guys to develop. And also the patience from the coaching staff and our players that we understand that this is a process of learning. And so hopefully, tonight against West Noble, we can put it all together. Last night wasn't quite there, but we feel good about moving forward.
Yeah, so one thing that stuck out to me looking at the stats last night is you guys had 6 players score. And against Angola, you guys only had 3 players. And as we saw, it was a much closer game. So how did distributing the ball to other players really help you guys stick in the game and almost pull off the win?
Yeah, our offense is really not predicated on, isolations and getting one person in any one spot to take over the game. It's really about being able to control the basketball on offense and put all of our players in positions that they can be successful. So, at any one time, we feel like any one of our players can get the ball in their spots where they really can be successful and maybe score or shoot. So I think that's a process of figuring out, who can do what and who can be successful doing what. And so, it's just about trusting the offense, being patient with our cuts, and really trying to execute to the best of our ability. If teams start to pressure us, then we can move to some different things. But it was nice to see, some other guys. Salazar hit an early 3, and that was an assist from Dukes on a baseline drive. Jaden Boyer was a little more active in our offense. And so it's kind of a process of 5 guys working together, and our bench players, Justin Castro, after making a mistake, when he got in the game, he took the ball to the basket real strong and finished at the basket. So he scored, a bucket. So it was nice to see some guys kind of coming in off the bench. We also got Welty some primetime minutes. After playing a really good JV game, we got him some primetime minutes where he's going to have to become a little more accustomed to the speed of a varsity game. So overall, I thought all of our guys came in and did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and a couple of players that really stuck out to me, as you mentioned, Castro, but Hardy, he really went down big, down low, and Dukes as well. Both of those really shot really well from inside the paint. So talk about how those paint points, because that's something you guys really never did all season so far, and you guys start going down low, and it really puts you guys in a position where we saw lots of points, and you guys were in a position to win the game the whole time.
Yeah, and like I said, we have to consistently do that. We did through stretches of the game, start to get the ball inside. We got fouled. We went to the foul line, and we worked on that kind of throughout the week. We have to continue to do that and consistently do that throughout the basketball game. And again, the idea is that will soften up, some of the pressures of our outside shooting. So, if you continue to develop a game on the inside and you're really pounding it down low or driving to the basket, getting the ball to the paint, that we can make one or two passes and get open 3-point looks instead of really kind of forcing up shots from the outside that are contested. It's really difficult to shoot when you got a guy right on you, and we're taking a few too many contested 3-point shots. And I think, the philosophy is that we have to get the ball inside and allow our inside guys. The good news is we got people down there that can actually do it. Ethan Hardy kind of leads the way in getting that ball and really powering it to the paint. But if I'm not mistaken, I think he only took 2 or 3 shots inside the 3-point arc. I think he was 0 for 2 from 3, but 2 for 2 from inside the paint. We got to be more focused on getting him and Jack, in the ball inside the paint to where we can kind of soften it up for our guard play.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I kind of want to talk about was foul trouble. Ethan Hardy fouled out, and Jack Stover had 4 fouls. So briefly just kind of talk about how you calm your players down so they don't get as much foul trouble come late on in the game.
Well, it's a lot easier. I was always taught that it's a lot easier to kind of pull the reins back just a little bit than to light the fire under somebody. And so, Jack has got a really strong motor. I mean, he is flying all over the court, and he's getting rebounds, and he just can't quite contain himself in terms of, holding back just a little bit. And that'll come with the comfortableness of being a varsity player. He'll understand when he can be a little more aggressive and when he's got to hold it back just a little bit. And Austin Miller has had to learn that as well, because he's obviously got, the ability to steal the ball just about any time he wants to. And he's had 11 steals in 3 games, and a lot of those lead to uncontested wide open, layups at the other end. But that was a process of learning when he should and when he can do that, because if he tries to do it all the time, he gets himself into foul trouble. So, what I'm saying is those guys will, as they get more comfortable in a varsity game, they'll learn how to, control themselves in certain situations where they don't get fouls. And right now they're probably going to get in foul trouble, which then we have to rely on our bench players. Castro's got to come in and give us solid minutes. Jaden Boyer's got to come in and give us solid minutes. And then we're trying to develop Caden Weldy to be able to come in and contribute, if we do get in foul trouble. So we feel like we go about 8 deep right now and feel pretty good about those 8 guys. So if somebody does get in foul trouble, somebody else, it's like next man up, type thing, that they can come in and do a good job, for our team.
Yeah, once again, that's Coach Everingham, but we're going to take a short break, and once we return, we're going to talk about tonight's game against West Noble. We'll be right back with more Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back to Coach's Corner, and before we get started, we have Mr. Van Loo who would like to say a couple things.
All right, how we doing, gentlemen?
Oh, pretty good.
Okay, well, we had a fall play in the auditorium last night, and I got the pleasure of watching some great kids on stage last night, but we had some students here in the radio studio, and it's my understanding that the first period of the game was not on the air of a simple mistake, and so we just wanted to apologize to the fans out there that, that's not something that normally happens, but Coach Everingham, being in education for quite some time and former CTE director, still working with kids today. Kids make mistakes, just like adults do.
They do, and we made some mistakes during the basketball game that we learned to live with, right? And
yes.
We made a couple mistakes that we're going to learn from in the radio TV program. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. When you make mistakes, you don't get down. You turn around and make the adjustments, and we'll do better next time.
We sure will. So hopefully I'll be in the studio tonight. That won't happen, but I'm not guaranteeing that I won't make mistakes because I am human.
Right.
But
Yep.
we do apologize for that. And hey, let's get back to what you guys got to talk about because
All right.
that's more important than what I have to talk about.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Van Loo. Alrighty, Coach Everham, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game. We have a good matchup against West Noble, who comes in at 1-1. But let's talk about some of their guys that are going to give you guys trouble tonight.
Well, all of them. I mean, they're all going to give us problems. They do a good job over there in Ligonier or West Noble. They got skilled basketball players, and they certainly are going to present, a problem. I mean, everybody that they're going to bring in is got their own unique strengths, and we've been able to scout them and watch the films, and they have good basketball players. Last year, they had a good team, and we were fortunate enough to come out on top in sectional play, and they did lose some guys just like we did, but we still know them very well, and we know some of their newcomers too, and just guys that have stepped up, that have come out of the woodwork, and so they present a lot of challenges. Again, I talked about it a little bit, but their guard play is going to be extremely good, and they got a really good shooter in Mass. So we're going to have to be on the top of our game defensively and limit some things that we think that they're going to try to do. So, but like I said, most of our games, it should be a good one. I really don't see that, either team coming out and just blowing the other team out. I guess you never really know for sure, but I would expect a really good game tonight.
Yeah, so you talked about that last year, the sectional win, but earlier in the season last year, you guys actually lost to them and they come out on top on sectionals. So let's talk about how you guys might see them in sectionals. I know you don't like to look ahead too far, but let's talk about how this early season matchup can help prepare you potentially for a sectional matchup coming up.
Yeah, it's always, you see a team early in the year, and then, I was just talking to who we're going to talk to next over here, Coach Tim Keim, about the transformation of a team throughout the season. You can be one team early in the season and be another, late in the season. I think when you have some inexperience and you have some younger guys and you, as a coach, you figure out what you're good at and you figure out what you're not good at, and you try to fix, what you're not good at, and you try to accentuate, what you are good at. So I don't know if that was clear as mud, but I mean, your team gets better, and every team gets better. And so it's not like, teams get worse as the season goes along. Everybody gets better. It's just a matter of who gets, better faster and who can improve the most, over the course of a season. So we're still in the very beginning stages, of our progression as a team. And so we would expect to get better, quicker and faster, just because of our young guys kind of learning how to play.
Yeah, so let's talk about West Noble once again. And you guys just played a game last night, and you guys have a game tonight. How does that have a negative impact on your team?
Well, I want to practice. I mean, the kids want to play. If they had a choice, they'd play every other night and put together an NBA schedule, and we would just go play. So for the kids, this is really, really cool. I mean, we had a disappointing loss last night, and they're going to get right back at it. And if we don't come out, if we start feeling sorry for ourselves, or if we're just kind of like, wow, if we don't have the right mindset going into tonight's game, it'll be a long night for us because they can play. But I have trust and faith in our guys. There's no chance that that's going to happen. We'll get their mind right today, and we'll do some walkthrough stuff. We had guys play major minutes last night, probably 4 guys that were in the 30-minute mark, and so it'll be everybody. Everybody on the bench has got to be ready to go. So then, next week's a different story. We'll take what we have and we'll try to fix what we need to fix. We got a whole another week of practice next week. So, but I know tonight we'll be ready to come out. We'll play with great energy, and we'll try to just do a couple things just a little bit better.
Yeah, so let's talk about what are those things you guys have to do to win tonight's game. Just give us a couple keys to the game, defensively and offensively.
Well, I think first and foremost, defensively, they got Colton Kripe back. He didn't play on Tuesday night or Wednesday night against Fort Wayne Southside, and we're really curious why. But he was in a a tragic accident, last year and was unable to play all of last year. So I'm sure I've only heard amazing things about that kid and how good of a kid he is. And we're really glad that he's back on the floor and participating in basketball. And he's probably their best player, if not their second best player, but he didn't play on Wednesday night. So we're not 100% sure if he's even going to play tonight. But I think from a coaching perspective, you kind of plan on, their best players being on the floor. So, he's a guy at the guard position that is really athletic and he can score in many different ways, including shooting the ball. And so he's certainly somebody that we're going to have to keep a really close eye on and kind of gauge, where he's at and how he's kind of moving around the floor to make sure we have the appropriate defense for him. And then probably the most scary player, I think, for me is Joel Mass, because he's got the ability to knock down about 4 to 23s in a row. He's got a super quick release, and he's hit some big shots against us in the past. So we're going to have to make sure that, they know we're going to play zone, and we cannot lose Joel Mask, in our zone, because he's got such a quick release that he's got the ability to string 2, 3, 4 threes in a row. I think against Fort Wayne Southside, he comes out and hits like 2 or 3 just right off the bat. But like most shooters, he's also got the ability to string together some misses, that could benefit us. And if we rebound those misses, we got to do a better job of kind of transitioning into our offense. So defensively, we just have to find their best players and make sure we do our best to kind of control them. But their supporting cast is really good too. Josh Gross is a 2 or 3 year player for them. That is a good, really physical player that can get the ball to the basket. So him moving around the inside and creating opportunities for other people is going to be key for us to kind of physically kind of match up with him. And then they got the freshman Cripe, Colton Cripe's younger brother, Austin, who is a freshman that at one point during the Southside game, he was their leading scorer. I think it was the third quarter I was watching, and he had 8 or 10 points, and he was the leading scorer in the game for them. So they also have a nice mixture of some veteran guys that are leading the way for them, and then some younger guys that are stepping in and doing a nice job for them. So defensively, we just got to know who they are and what their strengths are, and we'll have to do that really quickly today to really kind of put the clamps down on them on defense.
Yeah, so, last night you guys struggled transition defense. Talk about how you guys are going to be able to get back faster on defense when you guys miss a shot and have rebound, and they get the rebounds. Talk about how you guys are going to get back faster and not allow transition points.
That's the understatement of the morning. Trouble. I don't know what's a worse name than that, but we really did struggle. But, hey, that dude is good.
Hamby?
Yeah,
he was
good.
He was one of the fastest players I've ever seen.
I don't know. You're way too young to remember Jason Williams, but maybe you've seen some YouTube videos of Jason Williams back in the day. Hamby's got the ability to handle with both hands, and he throws beautiful bounce passes, and he controlled the game last night, but I guess we're through that one. But that's why we struggled so mightily in transition, because they got the ball real quickly in his hands and just beat it up the court faster than we could get back, and so I'm not 100% sure. The Miller kid, the point guard for West Noble, has got the ability to do that. So it's something that we got to think about. But I'll tell you the best way to stop transition. Let me tell you. Ready? Okay. Score the basketball. If you score, guess what they got to do? Take the ball out of bounds. And so the best way to combat, other teams' transition play is to score. And so if we can do a little bit better job of shooting a higher percentage, especially from the 3-point line and 2-point range, that'll limit West Noble's ability to kind of get the ball up the floor. So I'm not overly concerned about that. We faced a really good player last night and probably as good a guard as we're going to see all year. And that's not taking anything away from Miller or Cripe, those guys over at West Noble. But Hamby's good. He's good.
Yeah, so just kind of a funny question here for you, Coach. I saw the jacket come off last night. Is the jacket going to come off tonight?
I'm not wearing a jacket anymore. I'm telling you. I'm done doing that because I get I have set world record. You can check. the Guinness Book of World Records of how quickly you take a jacket off in a basketball game, my name's in the Guinness Book of World Records. Or if it's not, it should be. Okay, so the just like we were talking about transition, okay, and how to stop transition. The best way for me to stop throwing my coat or laying it nicely on the sidelines is to not wear one. All right, okay. So tonight I think we've made a decision to go with the polos. For the fashion, we have a fashion coordinator for the Wawasee basketball program, and he or she has decided that we're wearing polos tonight.
So that's
Important
good
stuff, right?
So there's going to be no jacket throws tonight. But let's talk about your lineup. Is there going to be big changes, or are we just going to kind of keep with the same lineup and keep putting those players coming off the bench and getting solid minutes and hopefully getting solid points?
Well, you're going to see some changes tonight. We are going to make a little shift with our lineup for tonight. And so I'll release that maybe later to you guys off air. So just in case anybody over in the West Noble area is listening to the radio show. But we are going to make some changes. There's a couple things, I need to coach better. There's no question about that. I'm the head coach. I take responsibility when my team doesn't play well. And I'm definitely going to take responsibility. We need to do things better. I need a little practice time to do that. But there is an accountability for players too. And when you got players that are not quite, fulfilling their roles within the team, there's some accountability that lies there. It is nothing personal. I love all the guys. I mean, we got great guys on our team, but they need to know that when they don't perform up to the standards in which I think they can perform, then they're going to be sitting next to me watching other guys attempt to fulfill the roles to the best of their ability. So, we're going to make a little bit of a change and see if that doesn't spark some things within our players. And I'm very confident that things are going to work out well, as we move through the season and different lineups you'll see.
Yeah, it's still early in the season, so you still got a lot of time to play with your lineups. But once again, the Warriors are going to travel to West Noble to play the West Noble Chargers, and we're going to take another short break. But once we return, we're going to be joined with Coach Kime. So we'll be right back with more Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. I am now joined by Coach Tim Kime, the 6th grade Wawasee Middle School boys basketball coach. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good, thank you.
So let's go ahead and talk about the 6th grade team this season. How are they doing? Who are a couple players that you're really excited to watch develop and grow?
Well, I tell you what, we're having a great season. We're 5-1 right now. We have a solid core of players. There's probably 4 or 5 that are doing a lot of off-season workout, and it's really showing. But you've got Nolan Holtzworth, you've got Bo Brunner, Luke Kime, Davis Everingham, Max Taylor. You've got Landon Gauze's younger brother, Aaron, and Preston Shear. They're all just a solid group of kids. They like to share the ball. And that's probably one of the more impressive things that I see as a coach. They're getting out there and they're working together.
Yeah, so that's always good, especially at a young age, to learn how to share the ball. But before we keep talking about basketball, let's learn a little bit about you, Coach. What's your basketball background? Did you work with the Junior Warrior program before you came?
I did, yeah. This is the 5th year that I've been with this actual group. I've just kind of graduated up with them since they've been in the 2nd grade, and it's been a real treat. And I think it's, at least I hope it's paid off that way. There's been some consistency there with what they expect in the coaching and what I can expect out of them as players. So it's been good.
Yeah. So do you work in do you work in the community? Do you live locally, or kind of just give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah. I've grown up around here. Graduated from Wawasee. I live here in Syracuse now, and fortunate enough to work fairly local. I'm over in Napanee right now, and been over there for about 5 years at a manufacturer called Ascot Enterprises, and so Again, I'm in a leadership role over there at Ascot, so I kind of feel like that's helped me in my coaching, and being able to lead.
Yeah, let's talk about the sixth grade team. As me personally, that in freshman year is kind of the hardest transition from players because you're transitioning from elementary to actual middle school basketball where you play teams outside your conference. Talk about how you helped them prepare and transition into this big step in their basketball career.
It is a big step for them. The cool part about this team is they just have so much fun getting out there on the court and just playing. And before the games actually start, you see them with a little bit of pregame jitter, but once they get rolling, they're just having a ball out there. And I think that's kind of unique. I think at that sixth grade level, sometimes you can get kids that have a lot of nerves built up, and at those lower levels when they're in those elementary type basketball games, they may not be quite as nervous about taking a shot, those sorts of things. And then you get out there maybe on a little bit bigger stage, if you will, and they maybe get a little bit nervous about taking a shot. These kids aren't that way. In fact, I tell these kids if they don't shoot when they have a good shot, that I'll put somebody else in, and jokingly, but I'm serious about it too, and they know that. And I want them to get in there, and I want them to have fun. And like Coach Everingham was saying earlier in his broadcast, we're there to score the basket, score the basketball. Let's put some points on the board and go out there and most importantly, just play as a team and have some camaraderie.
Yeah, let's talk about this season. Talk about the games. What's their record? Who they went up against, and just talk about kind of the things that have really helped you guys win, or things that you guys are struggling with this season.
Yeah, again, we're 5-1. We had a loss by 1 point to Indian Springs, which is Columbia City School. They're coached very well. It is a game, however, that it's the closest one we had all year. And it's a game, when I reflect back on that we made some silly mistakes here and there that we could have probably cleaned up, and not only on the court itself, but also from the coaching side of things. And it's good to have those kinds of games. We get another shot at those guys when we have our invitational next Saturday, and we're looking to get some payback there. Hopefully we can come out on the winning side there and bring some hardware home for Wawasee Middle School.
Yeah, so you talked about how your transition with them all the way up from the younger, when they're younger, and the junior warrior. Talk about how that chemistry and the bond with the players has really helped you coach them, and of course them learn from you more and take you more seriously as a coach.
Well, yeah. Again, it's been kind of unique that way. I know we've had a few of those situations through the coaching ranks as they've graduated up through elementary and into middle school, and I think it's just allowed. I have a guy that coaches with me, Ben Brunner. His son plays on the team as well, and it's allowed us to have a unique relationship with every one of those kids. And again, as we step into middle school coaching here, we have some kids that we're not as familiar with too that are coming out on the team, and it's been just a pleasure to work with every one of those kids. It's been a joy just to see them progress and grow, not only as young men, but also in their game on the court. It's just been fun.
Yeah, so, you don't go to the school, and Coach Everingham was talking about how he sends out an email to all the teachers to kind of see how his players are. And at the sixth grade level, you haven't had any issues with any players this season, or, are they kind of low-tempered, and or are they kind of starting to get at the age where they get a little agitated and don't know how to control their tempers?
We haven't seen too much of that. Again, some fire is welcome. At least from me as a coach, I like to see a little fire in those kids. But we also, from the beginning, we preach that we're warriors. We preach that, you're representing your school, you're representing your families, your friends, and your community. And so we try to keep those in check. and we try to make sure we drive that home to those kids. And I think we just have a great group of kids there in the 6th grade that are they're competitive, but yet when the game's done, or even when the game's going, they're very conscientious of the other team, and conscientious of making sure that their efforts are going towards representing us well.
Yeah, so I asked this to Coach Hoffert last week, but I kind of wanted your intake of this. I'm from Milford. You talked about your coaching at Wallasey Middle School. Do you think the separation in middle school has a negative or a positive impact for the players?
Well, personally, I'd like to see those two come together, similar to what we've done with our football program, and I think it would strengthen the situation, to be quite honest. I probably 25 years ago helped coach over at Milford in the 6th grade program. I had the opportunity to do that, and that was I enjoyed that, and that was my first opportunity to coach at any level. And my wife taught over there at Milford for about 15 years. She's an elementary teacher in Wallasey community, and so I've had that opportunity to see both sides of it, if you will. And there is a uniqueness, obviously, to the how we have things set up. And I know there is some people who like it and some who don't. And but I just think, as far as strengthening a program, I think it would be good if we were able to bring them together at the middle school level and get those kids playing together.
Yeah, so talking about that, what is the best thing you like about the Wallasey program that maybe you don't see at other schools? One thing of Wallasey basketball program as a whole that really just sticks out to you?
Well, like I said, I've obviously had the opportunity for the last 5 years to be around it since Coach Everingham's been here. And I'm fortunate enough to be a friend of Coach, and so I was able to get into that junior program and have that privilege to get in there and coach and just see how things have grown over the years. And I think for me, there has to be some patience, and I've heard Coach Everingham talk about that. There does have to be some patience with this program and how it's starting to grow. We're just starting to see the fruits of this, and it's going to start coming through.
Yeah, so quick question. So I actually, the first year that I ever started, I helped Coach Everingham run the scoreboard a little bit, and the numbers were pretty good, but what are the numbers in the Junior Warrior program right about now? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure. When we had our coaches meeting earlier this year, he was putting some of those numbers out to us as coaches, and it was pretty astounding. I don't remember what that exact number was. I would hate to even throw it out there. I would like to ask John that before I'd say anything, but I know they're pretty strong, and I think they continue to be strong. And again, that's where you're going to get that growth as we head up into that high school level. And, not every kid is going to end up being a varsity basketball player, and we all know that. And we know the numbers are limited as you start to march up the ladder in your grade levels. But I just think it's important that all these kids get out there, even if they have any kind of love for the sport, to just get out there and be with their friends and get out there and be competitive.
Yeah, so I know you briefly talked about it, but once again, just briefly bring it all together. What is your coaching experience before you came and coached at 6th grade level?
Well, I have 4 or 5 years prior to that in the Junior Warrior program, and I've had the opportunity to coach 6th grade over at Milford. Again, that was a while back. And I did do a little bit of coaching, not related to the basketball program, but for the football program. I coached a couple of years, 2 or 3 years over there with Coach Vorel at the 7th grade football level. And again, a different sport, but as a coach, you still learn how to lead. You still learn how to create those good relationships with the players.
Yeah. So final question for you. If I'm not mistaken, last year, 6th grade won conference. Is that correct? Do you remember?
I'm pretty sure they did, yeah.
So how are you guys going to be able to repeat this year?
Well, I think I feel pretty confident about it. Again, that 7th grade group is a very strong group of individuals, and we're fortunate here in the Wawasee community to have another one following right behind it. I think that although we're not exactly the same as that 7th grade, I think the continuity with this grade level that I'm coaching is second to none. I personally feel like this team has the personality, if you will, to go in there. They're going to have the desire, and they certainly have the skill level. So I think we're set up pretty well there. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, if you will, but I think we feel pretty confident that this team at least has the tools that it's going to take to do it.
So the future's bright here for the Wawasee Warrior basketball program. As you heard from Coach Hoffert, the 7th and 8th grade coach, and Coach Keim, the 6th grade coach at Wawasee. But we're going to take another short break. Coach Keim, thanks for joining me this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
So once we return, we're going to have one of the players, senior Jaden Boyer, join us. We'll be right back with more Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. I'm now joined by senior Jaden Boyer. Jaden, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good.
So let's talk about your transition to basketball. What do you like most about basketball?
I grew up playing the game and I just instantly fell in love with it. Just the intensity that comes with it, and just all around, it's just a great sport, and I just fell in love with it right away.
Yeah, as many of us know, you have your older brother, Jairus. So did you guys ever have a little bit of sibling rivalry growing up?
Yeah, we did a little bit. Just it didn't get too out of hand, but there's sometimes we get intense with each other while playing basketball.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Jairus, unfortunately, only had Everingham for a couple of years, but you've had him all 4 years of your high school career. How has that helped you and your senior class grow together under one coach?
I think it's helped a lot because just coming in, we learned the new system right away, and we just stuck with it all 4 years. And so we've really been able to grow and understand the whole concept of our offenses and defenses.
Yeah, so you're this year you're really getting your first varsity minutes. Last year you got a couple, but this year you're really starting to get 10, 15 minutes of a game. So talk about how you've prepared yourself, and what are you going to do to help your team win games?
So going into the season, Coach was talking to me about how the game was a lot different than JV, so I just really worked on my skills, and he said the pace of the game would be different too, so I actually joined the cross-country team in order to get my shape better, and just that way so I'm not tired out there running around, so I think that really helped me.
Yeah, speaking of that, just besides cross country, is there any other extracurricular activity of school or outside of school that you're a part of?
So in the spring I also am on the track team, and then also on my church's leadership team.
Yeah, so that's very exciting. So, talk about how basketball helps you not just on the court, but how does basketball help you in life?
So basketball helps me on the court because it just takes me, removes me from this world, and I can just focus on the stuff that's going on the court, and just takes my mind off everything else. And then off the court, in my future, I'm looking at hopefully having a job with a professional basketball team. So just everything I do, it just involves basketball because I love it so much.
Yeah, so let's talk about school. So you're doing well in school this year?
Yep.
Did you, so you're making good grades, which is always good to hear. So is it difficult to manage basketball and schooling, or how do you do that?
I don't find it that difficult, actually, because I just, in class, I work hard and get my stuff done. And then after school, just go to practice. And then if I need to study a little bit at home, I get that studying done and then go back at it again.
Are away games tricky, since oftentimes you're gone until 9, 10 o'clock at night and you never really have time to do homework besides after you get home?
They can be tricky sometimes, but you just got to manage your time well, because you got a time frame in between the after school in the game when the bus leaves. So you just got to manage your time well and get it all done.
Yeah, so let's jump back to basketball. This year's senior class seems to be pretty strong. You have you, Miller, and Hardy, but of course you have Ray, who didn't play basketball at all, and the German student, what was his name?
Martin.
Yeah, he's senior this year, right?
Yep.
So talk about kind of your bond together as a whole, and just how that has helped you guys build and win games on the court.
Me, Miller, Hardy, and I have all been playing basketball since fourth grade together. We've been on the same team every year. So our chemistry has really shown a lot of growth since then. And we just built a special relationship on the court and off the court as well. And then with Ray and Martin coming in, they've just picked up right where we need them to be. And they've fit in well with us so far.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to ask Coach Emerham, I'm going to ask you. Talk about Martin, and he's a German exchange student. Has he really talked to you about his basketball experience? Like, has he really mentioned how it is in Germany, or like, is it a lot different here? Or has he never really talked to you about that?
He hasn't really talked much about it, but one thing he talked about was the amount of people that attend the games. He said there's about 10 to 15 that would attend his games in Germany, and now there's like upwards of 500. And his first game, he was really nervous because he had no idea what to expect, and so it's a lot different for him here.
Yeah, Martin is still kind of transitioning from the basketball he plays overseas to here, so he's playing on the JV team. But Coach Emerham said he would like to bring him up. And Boyer, you and Hardy and Miller all kind of grew together in high school. But we talked to Coach Keim. He talked about the Milford and Wawasee. Talk about how you and Miller had kind of a bond before you came, and then Hardy came along. But talk about how, was it difficult for you guys all three to come together, since you guys are kind of the core of that senior class?
I don't think it was difficult because, during the middle school seasons, we weren't on the same team, but we'd also, in the spring, we'd be on the same Club 1 basketball teams, and so we'd be able to get chemistry down with Hardy in that, and it's really not hard to play with Hardy because he's just in the paint. You just got to feed him the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you talked about what you want to do after high school, but talk about what school do you want to go to, and what do you want to major in?
So right now I'm down to Indiana Wesleyan and Taylor University, but I am leaning towards Taylor right now. Haven't come to a full decision yet.
Does that have anything to do with your older brother going there?
No, I try to keep that out of my head, just make my own decision. And then I'm looking at majoring in either business or sports management. So
you mentioned the idea of maybe running a NBA team, but let's talk about that. It's a little difficult as there's only 30 teams. So what if, per se, would you accept a smaller management job such as the Mad Ants, or is it strictly basketball you want to manage, or would you manage any sport?
So basketball isn't the only one I'd be interested in. It's really just any sport that would give me the opportunity to hopefully just a front office role, but even the lower in the minor leagues for baseball or the G League for NBA, just any of them would be perfect for me, I think.
Yeah, so Jaden Boyer, so that's going to be exciting to see you, pursue your basketball dreams. But let's talk about basketball. How has that helped you grow as a person? When did you start playing basketball?
I think I started around first or second grade.
So first, second grade. So you played all the way up to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then you transitioned into high school. Is that correct?
Yep.
So how has that helped you grow as a person?
I think it's really helped me become more mentally tough as a person, and it also helps me come out of my comfort zone because I'm more of a shy person sometimes. So just communicating on the court a lot has helped me come out of my shell a little bit.
Yeah, one thing I've really noticed about you is you're not really a vocal person on the court. You're more of a just play the game and be done with it. I know you show frustration every now and then when you lose games, but talk about how you help lead this team and help the underclassmen grow.
So I really like having a leadership role on this team. I think just leading the team in the right direction, and when we're down, just picking them up, and when we are playing well, just keeping them level-headed. I find that really important for our team. And then also being a vocal leader, helping them know where to go and what they should be doing.
Yeah, so let's talk about this whole senior class together. How have you guys bonded together? How has Hardy, Miller, and of course, Martin and Ray. How have you guys helped prepare the future generation of Wawasee? Do you guys go work with the Junior Warrior program at all, or is it more just you guys don't necessarily have time, you just kind of focus on high school players?
So there are some instances where we go down and help the Junior Warriors watch their games and sometimes ref some of their games. But normally during the basketball season, we just are with our own team, and we're just pouring into all the knowledge we can give to the underclassmen and letting them know what they need to do to prepare themselves for varsity basketball.
Yeah, so back when I was a little kid, I used to be very excited because I played football, but I used to be very excited to come and see high school players play, and I was very excited to meet them. Do you ever get that kind of reaction, like when you see, like when little kids see you? Do they get excited because you're a varsity basketball player?
Yeah. So last night was autograph night, and we saw a little bit of that. Like they were just so excited to get our autographs, and I think that's really cool to see.
Yeah, because you might not be like a big basketball player, but it's really cool to support you guys, have in your community. And let's talk about your student body, your fan base last night. You guys had a very big student section, and one thing that we talked about was the trend of turning the lights down before the game started. Talk about how that has got you mentally prepared and ready to play and kind of hyped up, like with your student section and of course the lights going down low, introducing you guys.
So yeah, last night the student section, I think that was one of the biggest ones we've had in quite some time, and I think the lights going down before the game for the starting lineups, that really helps because it gets everyone pumped up and ready to go, especially the players. Like we love it so much, and then the student body all coming on the court and giving us high fives, it just all goes together and helps us get ready for the game.
Yeah, so let's transition. Tonight you have a game against West Noble. Last night, as we know, you guys lost a heartbreaker to Manchester. But how do you, as a player, transition and prepare to play back-to-back games?
Yeah, so you just gotta. I feel you just gotta put the last night's loss behind you and just look forward to West Noble and just get ready to go and see what we can do tonight.
Yeah, so let's hear it from a player's perspective. What do you guys have a walkthrough today, or what do you guys have before the game?
Yeah, so at noon we have shoot around and walk through. So we'll get some shots up and then go over a game plan for tonight, and then we'll go back home and then come back for bus around 4.
Okay, yeah. So one thing I've always kind of wondered: do you guys watch film in high school basketball?
Yeah, we have certain days that we watch film, and then there's sometimes we watch film before on Saturdays, but not sure about today or not.
So, Coach Everham talked about this week-long break and the short break. Do you prefer the back-to-back games, or would you rather have a couple of days of practice in between the games?
I don't mind the back-to-back games, but the short breaks in between I really like them too.
Yeah. So once again, that's Jaden Boyer, and I really don't know if we're allowed to talk about this, but let's go ahead and talk about this. Jaden, what are your thoughts on tonight's game? I know you don't want to really look and say you guys are going to win. But what are your thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah, so West Noble, I know they can shoot the ball pretty well, and they got a really physical team with some good football players that they also have, so that play basketball. So I think it will be a hard-fought game tonight, and it'll just be a very physical game.
Yeah, so, and then Jaden, after high school, you talked about running track, but after track, we only have, about 4 or 5 months of school?
Yeah.
So have you got all your applications done for college, scholarships, or are you still working on them?
I'm working on my scholarships. I got all the applications done since I'm down to 2 schools, but the scholarships I still got to be working on.
Have you been accepted to any of the schools so far?
Yeah, I've accepted to both of them so far.
So that's going to be very excited. As you know, your older brother is at Taylor University. So, just make sure you work on the scholarships. As myself, I haven't been very good at that, so I need to get better about that. So before we let you go, Jaden, just tell us a couple things that our listeners wouldn't know about you.
Yeah, so once again, senior at Wawasee High School. Looking forward to going to college and going to either Indiana Wesleyan or Taylor University, and maybe participating in track in college. Not sure about that one yet, but then hopefully landing a front office job in one of the professional sports leagues.
That was Jaden Boyer, senior on the Wawasee Warrior basketball team. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Tune in tonight at 7:30 as we will have the call as the Wawasee Warriors head over to West Noble to take on the Chargers. This is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix.